We're back with Bobby and JG Radio. Our show today is Downtown Development. Our first guest is Lorenzo Gomez. Lorenzo worked at Rackspace for 10 years. He's now the director of Geekdom, and he also runs the 80/20 program. How you doing, Lorenzo?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, thank you. I've been growing out this beard just to compete a little bit, and since I left
and you're not competing.
I know.
He's dominating.
This is like 4 o'clock shadow compared to what we're dealing with over here.
It's good. No, it's a good attempt. You just got to try.
I know. I'm going to do it, dude. So, Lorenzo, what is Geekdom?
So Geekdom is a collaborative co-working space for startup companies. But, I mean, if you want it in layman's terms, it's just a gym membership for geeks or nerds. That's where our tribe congregates downtown.
So what happens at Geekdom? What do you guys do?
So the mission of Geekdom is to create an ecosystem where startup companies can be born and hopefully hire thousands of people, just like, when we started at Rackspace so many years ago, downtown, a block away from where Geekdom is. And if we're doing our job right, startups will be created there. We'll give them tools and we'll remove barriers so that one of them will hopefully hire me one day when Graham fires me,
And you said Graham. Who's Graham?
So Graham is the chairman of Rackspace. He was the original investor in Rackspace, and he's the owner and the co-founder of Geekdom, and he's also the owner of the 80/20 Foundation where I work.
You're pretty much trying to put the right people in the room, right, together, and hopefully that something will happen. So you have a coder and a software engineer. If Bob was there, you have a custodian, and then you can kind of get a
custodial engineer.
Yeah, custodial engineer.
It's engineering, yeah, definitely.
Some way. But then you're hoping that'll just kind of flourish into something. Great.
Yeah, we have a lot of companies that have started that way, where you'll put two random guys together and they'll complain about a problem and then they'll start a company because of it. We have a great boot camp called Code Up where they take non-technical people and make them programmers in 12 weeks, and that company was created because there was two guys.
So
sharing
I
an
have
office.
hope.
There is hope for you, absolutely. You can create the next Facebook.
I can drop the mop now.
That's right.
No,
Gotcha.
The next Facebook for DJs
right?
or dog walkers.
Sure. So let's talk about the history of Geekdom. Like, why did it start? How did it start?
Well, so little history on Rackspace. Rackspace, started in San Antonio. There's some really cool internet trivia. The first servers of YouTube started in Rackspace's data center in downtown San Antonio. And for my entire career at Rackspace, we always struggled to recruit young people,
Sure.
and specifically young single people. And a couple of years ago, there was a company that Rackspace bought, and when the founders moved to San Antonio as part of the acquisition, there was one founder that really didn't want to move and kind of sent this email that said, hey, there's no downtown scene, there's no startup scene, there's no web developers, and so I'm going to move to Austin instead, and he did, and that was really...
Womp womp.
Yeah, well, the little brother complex, right?
Sure.
And so, Graham basically said, hey, we're going to create an environment, we're going to create a startup scene so that, we don't have to run into this problem, all the time when we're recruiting people like we've done for the last 15 years. And that's the genesis of it.
So Graham's trying to get competition.
Absolutely. Competition for Rackspace is good because what happens is, when you're recruiting some hotshot programmer from Facebook or Google, and you can get the salary right and you can get the team right and you can get the job right, then they ask you the question, hey, what happens if it doesn't work out at Rackspace and I leave? Are there any other companies in San Antonio I can go work for? And the answer right now is not really. You can go to USAA, which is a little bit different
Valero.
culture. You can go to Valero, right? If you want to wear, suit and tie. And so I heard USAA went casual, so that's, it's a big checkbox.
Sure.
I like it. So how many members do you guys have?
So we have about 880 members. We probably add about 40 to 50 members a month, and we have about 200 startups that.
So can we call them 880 geeks?
880 geeks, absolutely. Proud geeks, card-carrying members. Some of them smell a little fresher than others, but they're all part of the geek family.
And so, how many did you say this actually started? Like, how many companies have started up from there?
Yeah, so we probably have about 40 or 50 companies that office there full time, but we have about 200 companies overall that office there in some capacity, whether they have a remote worker there or whether they come and do, we have a lot of sole proprietors that will work instead of working from Starbucks like they normally do, they'll work out of Geekdom now.
Is there anyone that stands out, any pretty big successful company that you can kind of talk about, or who are they and what do they do?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of great examples. There's 3 Rackspace spin-offs that have come. Just the big web companies, like Facebook and Amazon and eBay have all spun out really cool companies like PayPal, and Rackspace is no different. So there are 3 companies that have come out. One's called TrueAbility, which does technical screening. There's another one called Promoter.io, which does this really amazing survey called Net Promoter Score. And then there's a third company called Help Social, which they were recently in in the news, and Mark Cuban is one of the investors in this startup, and so we're really happy to have them
Go
that are
Spurs.
kind of solving
Spurs.
problems.
Go
Yeah,
The Maverick guy, right?
That's the Maverick guy. I mean, it's
The
kinda-
loser,
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken that check, but
the
that's
guy
just,
that guy that hasn't won in a while. Okay, so let's talk. There's this one that you're talking about with us, and I think you just mentioned it. It was like a survey company, right? Can you
That's right.
talk a little bit about what they do?
Yeah, so all of the big kind of service provider companies like Nordstrom's, Lexus, Toyota, Zappos, they all use this methodology called Net Promoter Score, and it's the easiest survey in the world. It's one question, which is on a scale of 0 to 10, would you refer Rackspace to a friend or colleague? And the second question is why. And there's this whole methodology and science behind what happens when a customer checks that. And so most companies, so a world-class score is 70. So when I was at Rackspace, we averaged around a 40 or 50. The airline industry is traditionally a negative 200, which you can believe if you ever ride an airline.
If you can land me safely, I'll give you
I'll give you
a perfect score.
I'll give you a 10.
Yeah.
That's right. So what Net Promoter, what Promoter.io does is they've taken that and created a SaaS product, software as a service product, whereas at Rackspace they have a department of 10 people that do it full time.
And so do you own all these companies, or what is your?
Yeah, no. So
how are you involved in all this?
Yeah, so if we're doing our job right, we kind of get out of the way of the startups, and so
Sure.
Geekdom we don't own any percentage of any of these companies here. There's a Geekdom fund that invests into the companies, and we license our name to them for free. And so we don't want to own any part of them. We just want to help them, and it's a very different mission because that's the mission that Graham has given us, which is to nurture the startups, to give them tools, and remove barriers. And so if we're doing our job right, we're not playing favorites with anybody. We want the best guys to win.
So tell us about your core values.
So, one of the big core values is giving back. And so every member is required to give an hour of their time to another member. And there's really no way to track that, right? It's impossible. But what it does
You
is...
can't invent an app for that.
I'm sure
you can.
I'm sure there's an app. I kind of want to go really dictator and just go, hit people with rulers when they're not giving back. But what happens is it kind of sets the tone that we're a helpful community. And so what typically happens is if you show up to Geekdom and you're not helpful, you very quickly stand out as the guy or the gal that is just out for themselves. And so you kind of quickly get ostracized, and that's kind of how the community regulates itself.
So if Bobby was part of Geekdom, he would have to pretty much mop floors for at least 1 hour a month.
No, man, Bobby's funny enough. Someone would hire him. I don't know what you'd be doing, but you'd be hired by someone.
I'm entertainment.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Lorenzo Gomez, director of Geekdom, and he's letting us know exactly what this company does downtown. Can anyone join Geekdom, or do they have to be a geek? Yeah,
so we have 3 levels of membership. We have a $50 a month no contract community membership, and that's kind of industry agnostic. So you can be, we have people in the fashion industry, we have people in real estate. It really just spans all industries. And then to get a desk in an office, it's a little bit more strict. We have a panel of members that picks and reviews all the applications, and that's $200 a month per desk per person. And so the panel basically wants there to be tech companies in there, and so we divvy out the space so we can have a lot more tech companies. And then we have a price per square foot floor that'll open next month. We have 8 kind of fast-growing, larger companies that have 10, 12, 17 employees that have raised several $1 million.
So going back to the people that help actually get, they're more popular, and so they're more likely to get voted to get a desk, right? That you were talking about off air, and it's kind of a really popularity contest in the fact that you have to be the person that goes in there and helps other people out. And
absolutely,
you can't just be showing.
Yeah, if your application hits the panel and you've never done an event, attended an event, never done mentoring, none of the startups know who you are,
sure.
Then you're less likely to get a desk. And then if no one knows about you and you have a really cool idea, you might get in, but you'd have to have a really cool product.
We went out there last week, me and JJ, to check out the building. The environment was, I felt smarter just hanging out in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm there. As smart as I am, it's kind of hard to do. But tell us about some of the features that your building has.
Yeah, so Graham purchased about a year ago an 8-story, 100-year-old historic building called the Rand.
Is it haunted?
It's definitely haunted. Yeah, so
awesome.
there's some geeks that we had to dispose of. That's right. And so there's some TI-82 graphics calculators there that we've buried. So it's an 8-story building. It's downtown. We want our startup scene downtown because we feel like we can build density down there. There's a lot of rich tech history. And so right now we have 2 floors that are Geekdom. We're designing our 3rd floor, and we have we have enough companies to where if we had the building to ourselves, we would fill about 5 of those floors tomorrow.
Wow.
So on the top level, we're probably going to build a bar, and then on the first floor street level, we'll probably have mixed use retail.
And so why is Geekdom so important to the city of San Antonio?
Well, I think that it's just it's a component of what every city needs, right? Every city needs to have universities. Every city needs to have, your medical facilities. And I think one of them that you need is a job creation, a job machine, to generate these jobs. And the cool thing in tech is that, especially in tech, the jobs that are created are very special. There was a great book written by an economist named Enrico Moretto, who wrote a book called The New Geography of Jobs. And for every...
I read that.
Yeah,
it was a good book.
It was a pop-up then.
There's a lot of pictures, a lot of graphs in there. And so for every software developer that you hire in your city, it creates 5 indirect jobs, whether it be a barber, a barista, a dentist, a surgeon. And there's only one other job category that creates that many jobs, and that's a scientist, a research scientist. And so
that's my wife does.
Yeah, there you go.
So real quick, because I really wanted to get to it before we run out of time, the 80-20. Tell us about it real quick.
So 80-20 is the philanthropic arm of Graham Weston. It's his private foundation. And so we invest in STEM education, entrepreneurship, and revitalizing the urban core of downtown.
How can people get you guys some
So
money?
if you go to 8020foundation.com, we have a bunch of cool videos, and there's this terrorist-looking guy with a beard in the videos that explains all of it and kind of gives us some examples. That's me.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So don't panic.
I was
I'm
like, there's
Hispanic.
a second one?
There's more than one of you?
It's
my twin?
It's my stunt double. Yeah, and you can learn more. And we've got some great grants, and our partners, we love our partners.
So the STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math.
That's right. Yeah, but we tend to focus on mostly the tech training, so
Sure.
programming and stuff like that.
Well, thank you so much, Lorenzo, for getting us insight of what's going on downtown. It's very exciting to us and everyone else. We'll be right back. We'll talk some downtown
thanks
developers.
for having me.
Absolutely. You're listening to BobbyandJDRadio.com.